Welcome to Athletes and Entrepreneurs, the Alumni Journey. I'm Rob Finkelstein, founder and CEO of Alumni Direct, where we've created a platform to help athletes and other alumni network and connect with each other and tap into various resources in financing, careers, and health. And this show is all about athletes transition to sports, which is a major issue today, whether it's health reasons, it's financial literacy, and we want to make an impact. And so we interview former college and professional athletes and follow their journey into successful entrepreneurship and business leadership. And the whole idea is to teach and inspire athletes that there is life after sports. So excited today to have a former NFL kicker, Mike Hollis. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. So Mike played college football at Idaho. And after that, he became a successful NFL kicker. He kicked most of his career for the Jacksonville Jaguars, also had a stint with the Bills and the Giants. And then once he got out of football, he kind of tooled around in some different areas, tried the entrepreneurship gig on some franchising and some other areas. Ultimately, he started his company, Proform Kicking. So anybody out there, you got your kids ready to go, they want to start kicking and be at least a college kicker, but hopefully maybe a successful professional kicker, you got to go hit Mike up on that. And then he's also involved in a company called 3 International, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. So Mike, talk about growing up playing sports and how that shaped you leading up into college.
Wow, I mean, it's I can go all the way back to my years of in grade school, even with my neighborhood friends. We would always be active in the front yard playing all kinds of sports, soccer, football, you name it, we were playing it, and just kind of it really was kind of a group sort of thing, and it taught me a lot of responsibility and accountability. And I think of course it was fun. So I enjoyed it. I was always involved in some sort of sport. And I think that shaped me in a sense where I've, got that accountability. And I love the team concept. I love being accountable for teammates and them for you as well. And it opens up a huge window of opportunity for people to learn a lot about life in general. I mean, you think about the corporate world. You're working in the corporate world somewhere. You're probably on some sort of a team as well. You're working with people on a daily basis, and so it all starts with sports. You learn how to work with people in sports, and then it transfers into the everyday life as a grown up.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's all different sports. I mean, I played all the little league and the baseball and stuff. Ultimately, I was a runner. I ran in high school and then a distance run around college before I got hurt my sophomore year. But did you dream of being a professional athlete? Was it football or was it another sport?
I never dreamed of playing at a professional level of any sport, really. I just, growing up playing soccer and football, and I was a little wrestler at the time in middle school and stuff. But, as I got older, and off to college I go, I had opportunity or option to play either football or soccer. And I didn't like the running part of soccer. To be honest with you, it was hard. I was not a very good endurance runner, so I just I chose, and plus the fact that I was pretty good at kicking, so I thought, and I had a passion for it. I enjoyed it, so it was an easy decision for me. But I didn't really know how good I could be, and my goal was to just try to play. I felt that I was good enough to play in college, and then that road getting into college was tough because I did actually play for junior college at first, and then went off to University of Idaho as well after that. But even those getting into those colleges was still a challenge. It was tough because of my size, really. And I was a good kicker and I had great stats, but I wasn't always the biggest guy, obviously. And so I think a lot of teams kind of overlooked that and overlooked me because of that. But it was a heck of a journey. But my mindset was always just to be as good as I can physically be, and whatever level I get to, I have to be okay with that because that's just what I'm capable of doing. But I latched onto a guy who was a kicking coach by the name of Jim Gattano, and he taught me everything I know about kicking. And even to this day, as we coach, I say we because he's part of my academy as well. And so we coach together and teach kids the unique things that kickers didn't really know or still don't even know about kicking. And the reason I bring that up is because, as a smaller guy, as a very, average athlete, not real big, strong or freakishly athletic, I had to use something. I had to use my whole body to kick a ball. I had to use something I could offer. And I was taught this technique that actually allowed me to be as good as those guys that were big, strong, and freakishly athletic. And so, and even better than those guys that were that way too. So, that was my goal, was just to be as good as I could be. And lo and behold, it actually worked out that it was the highest level of football in the world, really. And I'm very fortunate to be able to look back and look at my career and be happy with it, because I did something that not a lot of people can do. So I have to be, proud of that. But it was a heck of an experience, heck of a run, and no, never regretted a minute of it. It was so much fun. Very
Yeah,
stressful.
yeah, I can imagine that's great. Yeah, was it like 1/10%? I think it is that makes it like
Yeah,
as a professional athlete.
yeah.
And it's interesting too, the mechanics, because I think sometimes you'll see like I had a friend that was a golfer, and not that tall, again, athletic, but just to a point. But he'd get up there in the tee box and just drive the ball 300 yards. So like I think
Mhm.
it doesn't, sometimes you don't have to be the strongest. It's like this the mechanics of just doing it right and have that form, which I'm sure, like you said, kind of played into kicking. So let's talk about transition out of sports, and we're going to talk with you too, like one with college and then also professionally. But was there education when you were at school, just hey, like when your sport is over, here's some of the things to look for, or was it? Did you have any of that?
No, not even close. No, it was.
Right.
There was no preparation for anything other than, the college preparation was to get you, you get your degree and look for a job. And the thing that people don't realize is that, NFL players, when we go, some of them, I say some, I don't even know really the stats on it, but some of them don't, graduate from college because they maybe they're really good in college and they get out, maybe their junior year, they get drafted, and they don't want to look back and, finish school after they, of course, apparently, if they play for many, many years. And that's really the point I'm talking about, is the fact that, the longer you play the game of football at the professional level, the longer you're away from what you went to college for. And
Right.
so you're 10 years, if I played 10 years in the NFL, I'm now 10 years ahead, or behind, I should say. I'm behind my peers, the people that I graduated college with. They're off doing their thing with their degree. And I delayed it by 10 years. And so when the time comes for, to end football and decide what you want to do in the real world, it's kind of challenging to go back and say, well, do I want to do what I did, in college? That was 10 years ago, like
Right.
I'd have to get recertified. I'd have to probably go back to school to get better, grades or credits, or there's got to be some sort of more credibility you need in the field that you study to get a job these days, right? So, I just didn't want to do that. I thought that maybe I'll just I'll be an entrepreneur. I want to just I enjoyed playing a sport for a living, and I wanted to kind of maintain that mentality where I can kind of just enjoy doing what I'm doing. Last thing I wanted to do is sit in a cubicle somewhere and be a corporate slave essentially. I wanted to kind of work for myself, and it's kind of, let's, as a kicker, you kind of do that too. You're working, you're the
Right.
only kicker on the team essentially, and you're doing the job yourself, and it's a very personal job. So I always kind of wanted to kind of feel that same way with my entrepreneurship, and just kind of do things on my own, and I challenge myself. And that's another thing too, is like with kicking, I was really, really challenging myself, trying to be as good
Right.
as I can be. And in the corporate, well, I say corporate world, but the entrepreneur world, doing the things that I do now, I'm still challenging myself to be as good as I can.
Yeah, and I think it's hard, like with the education. I mean, yeah, everybody I talked to, I mean, obviously when you're playing, you're so zoned in your sport. So a lot of people say even if there was education there, the athletes might not take advantage of it. I remember talking to one guy on a podcast, and he played football at University of Buffalo. He said, Rob, I would have loved if they would have had like a 6 week mandatory workshop or a class that we had to take, so that all of a sudden when we are done, we're more prepared. And then, and I think today some schools are making more of an effort to do that, but I think there's still that lack of education out there. And some of the things that we're trying to do with Alumni Direct is we're trying to, bring in resource partners, and try to work and become a partner of an athletic department, but not only to help the current athletes, but also the alumni athletes. Because, once you're out 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, or if you're fortunate like yourself to play professionally, it would be nice if you could tap back into your alma mater and have some type of presence there, the education to help you moving forward.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. And I think they're doing better. The NFL's got people they've hired in in-house people that kind of at each team, I think, would have a liaison of some sort that would kind of help with that transition and kind of just prepare guys, because football really is, if you look at your whole lifeline, as far as how many years you plan on living on this earth, football is it's a sliver of that time. It's a
Right.
small percentage of the time, and people don't think about that. And at the time you're making all this money, everything is great, right? But then when that time stops, those checks stop too, and so you have to kind of transition. Now, some guys do really well and make all kinds of money and don't really necessarily have to work that much, if at all. But I can promise you this from personal experience. I was bored. I was bored out of my mind for a couple months after I officially retired. I'm like, all right. And I had some time because I had some money still coming in from an injury protection benefit that I had from the Giants. But I was able to kind of, slowly transition, not like how some other guys, it's a very abrupt sort of
Right.
thing. I was fortunate enough to have that slow transition, but it was still kind of challenging to find a passion. Like, what is it I want to do? I'm done playing the sport, and okay, and now what do I do now? So that part was a little challenging. Some guys had prepared much better than me, and they already started doing things before they retired, from football that they were going to go into after football. And I was I was one of many that didn't, and I kind of regret that. I should have gotten involved in some sort of internships or something during my off seasons and things, and I didn't do that. And looking back, I definitely should have.
And obviously that's good advice for athletes out there that Mike just gave you, is that definitely, start preparing. Man, I have talked to some former NFL players that, to your point, like towards the end of their careers, they were getting into real estate and other things and starting utilizing some of their earnings to maybe get into franchising, doing some of those other things. So today, like, what does the NFL, I mean, I know there's the NFL alumni and there's the NFL Players Association. Are they doing things with the alumni athletes in that transition out of sport?
Not necessarily. I was at a body mind screening thing down in Miami not too long ago, and there's a gentleman there that was helping with the transition. He was a transition coach, I guess you call him, but it was for NFL players in general. It wasn't for any specific team, but that's what I kind of say, that they're starting to kind of have some help for us, kind of some direction and guidance on what to do, but not really. I mean, the NFL alumni and former NFLs, the NFLPA essentially, they're good for, well, the NFLPA more so than the NFL alumni is really good for given healthcare and things like that. They're actually starting to now. It's been a while. They've actually just now granted us some like an HRA account. The NFL has offered a HRA account for us, and so that's good. But then the NFLPA offers a lot of health testing and things like that for free, and some dental and visual stuff that we can get access to. But as far as transition help or things like that, they do have a kind of a concierge, mental health counseling sort of opportunity that we can do for free as well. So, there are coaches out there that they're designed to help guys like us, who the NFL is kind of appointed. So there's definitely some information out there that we can reach out to. But it's tough. Sometimes, we're former guys, former NFL guys, we're kind of stubborn, and we do it all on our own. And, honestly, I haven't personally accessed any of those things yet either. So again, maybe there'll be a day where I'm just like kind of frustrated and I don't know where to go and I'll have to reach out. But, right now I'm still cruising right along and, making a living and doing the best I can. And, some guys, get some opportunities that were much more fortunate than me. I kind of, again, doing a lot of things on my own still.
Right.
But I'm involved in team kind of aspect with that, with the proactive wellness company that I'm with as well. But my kicking academy, I'm just coaching my own, doing all my money, doing everything on my own. But there's always opportunities out there, and it's just up to us to kind of go grab them. And a lot of employers, really, I think that they would be more inclined to hire somebody like with the NFL football experience because of the dedication and everything that we put into football and being at the highest level of football. It's not easy to do, and so I know that there's a lot of employers out there to look for guys that, especially kicking, we can deal with a lot of pressure and stress and things like that. So I think for an employer, I think it would be beneficial for them to kind of look at guys like us because of our experience in the NFL. We're able to handle pressure and be in front of people and all that stuff. So I think there's opportunities out there. It's just a matter of going to find them.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we talk a lot about jobs and encouraging athletes that maybe you didn't do the internships in college, but your resume is playing a sport, being on a team, being leaders, being the perseverance, the practice, the preparation, just everything that you do as an athlete is a valuable skill set for employers, and that's something that we talk about. We look and we have an athlete community center, and we look to get employers there that want to hire former athletes. So as they're coming into this community, they're getting those opportunities. I think it's important. I think there's one guy that I bring up a lot on the podcast, but he was a football player in college and then very successful CEO. And he just urged athletes, look, you you got a lot of years ahead of you, and you got a lot that people want to hire. So just don't think of yourself as just that, you're Mike the football player, Rob the runner, or Susie the swimmer. You're a real person. You got a lot of time, and you've got that skill set that people want. So yeah, that's good. So let's talk about networking, connecting. And it's so important. Talk about especially the importance of while you're still playing.
The importance of why I'm still playing.
No, talking about like networking, connecting, and the importance of doing that while you're still playing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, networking, connecting with people, and again, you're planting seeds. You're preparing for that retirement, and that was one of the reasons I actually moved back to Jacksonville, because I was living in New York at the time, and when I retired, when I was married at the time, we're both from Washington State, and we both are a long ways away from our family, but we kind of decided that we'd want to move back to Jacksonville and retire there, primarily because my mind. In fact, we were there a long time. We loved it. We still do. But with regards to just the business opportunities and having known, people, and they knew me, so that was a good opportunity to kind of be back in the area that you had already planted those seeds, essentially, had a lot of business cards for all these little events and things that I've done. And so you're always able to kind of reach out to those people that you had some connection with early on. And now that your career's over, you're like, okay, well, yeah, I want to utilize my network of people that I've learned to know in the past 7 years, and see how I can help them. They can help me, and that's all the name of the game with regards to networking, and kind of understanding that there are people out there that you want to team up with that know a lot about some things, and of course we're football players, so definitely have an open mind to learning whatever we need
Right.
to do, and so that's a good opportunity as well to feed off of the people that are there to help you as well. So it works both ways.
Yeah, and I think it's all about building relationships, and we talk about even starting, like when you're in high school. I mean, you got your teammates and their parents and then coaches. You just never know, and I think it's just you build that along the way, because the last thing you want to see, and I've talked to some agents before where they say the players are so consumed and they don't do that, and then all of a sudden they get done like, okay, well, where's my 6-figure job? And like, well, it's not there because you haven't built up the relationship. So I think it's so important, not only in sports, just any area. I think building relationships and networking, connect, and kind of have that helping mentality, like not all about what's in it for you, but like how can you help others, kind of a thing. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've always been that guy of, I've honestly think I was placed on this earth to help people, and I enjoy doing it. I have a passion for helping people, and that's another reason why I do what I do with my kicking and also with the proactive wellness. I'm helping people all around, and it's satisfying, to know that you're making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, that absolutely. A couple questions I always ask. First one, and I don't know if you had a chance to listen or watch any of my podcasts, so it might be come as a surprise, so to speak. But what advice would you give to freshman Mike?
College freshman.
College freshman Mike, 10 words or less.
Oh boy. Stay consistent, be positive and optimistic, and never give up. I mean, it's as easy as that. I mean, it's probably easier said than done, but it's a matter of just understanding what your passion is, and don't ever, you're going to have no's out there. There's people that are going to disagree with you, or tell you no for anything, as far as what you're trying to do with, as far as business or whatever the case may be. And you can't take those personally. You have to kind of, it's just the way life is, and you just move forward and strive. And again, that football mentality comes out of me, and with regards to just finding that passion, challenge yourself on a daily basis, and never give up, and good things will happen when you work day by day. And that's one thing too that I like to share with younger people, and the fact that I wasn't really a huge like long-term goal setter. If it was a long-term goal, it was a very vague long-term goal. It wasn't like a like perfectly set long-term goal. My mindset was baby steps. I want to make daily goals. I want to do things on a daily basis, and if I can look myself in the mirror at the end of the night and honestly tell myself that I did the best I could under the circumstances I was given that day, then I haven't failed the goal. The goal was whatever it was. I'm just I'm going to do the best that I can under these circumstances, and that's kind of the way it was with kicking too. I learned a lot. Tom Coughlin was a coach of mine for 7 years in Jacksonville, and he was very good at cutting the season up into quarters. We had the first 4 games were first quarter, but it was a play by play type of thing, a game by game type of thing, a day by day type of thing. And I learned a lot from that, and I love that concept, and having the ability to kind of just, that, and again, going back to my kicking, getting as good as I could be in kicking, I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. I
Right.
knew it was going to be a process, and that's just the way life is. Life is a process. When you looking at something in the future and want to get somewhere, there's a certain road that you're going to have to take, and that road is a little windy at times, but it's a process, and so you have to take that process day by day, and build baby steps. It's like a stock in the stock market. It's not, very rarely does it shoot straight up. It takes a long while before that stock will reach a certain point. So it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah. So now we'll fast forward a few years and just say, what advice would have you given to senior in college, Mike?
Probably the same thing. I mean, it's freshman in college. It's you know easy to kind of be complacent and
Right.
treat college as a freshman as let's just party time and all that. Well, yes, jump to a senior. Well, you've done all your partying, and you've kind of realized, well, did you make a mistake and not realize, and not, do the things you should have done in class, and prepared yourself for life after college, really? So at that point, as a senior, it depends on what you did those 4 years prior to becoming a senior. And you have to understand that there's a great way of learning during those times that you can, and sometimes you regret not taking advantage of opportunities to
Yeah.
learn and get better. But again, that's why I say, like, if you're thinking of this everyday type of thing and doing the best you can under the circumstances and just kind of taking it day by day kind of thing, then by the time you're a senior, if you've done that sort of process, you're probably going to be pretty successful, and be confident knowing you're going into the real world with a lot of knowledge and you're prepared.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's talk a little bit about alumni engagement. Obviously, big with us. When you were at University of Idaho, was there um, a move to bring athletes back to work with the current athletes?
Not at Idaho, no. I've gone back and done some camps at Idaho back when Paul Petrino was the head coach there, but that was only like maybe 8 years or so in a row. But yeah, it's I don't get back to the school much. I mean, I'm 3,000 miles away from it, so it's only
Right.
a ways away. But yeah, I don't really, honestly, I don't know if it's just because of the distance or what, but I don't really engage with the University of Idaho a whole lot. I do. There was a period of time where I used to go to a lot of their games on the East Coast when they come out, before they went back to the Big Sky, and went back up or back down to Division I AA or FCS. They were playing a lot of teams out here on the East Coast, and so I'd have a group of guys that would go watch the football games, and Coach Paul Petrino would get us sideline passes and tickets for the games too as well. So a lot of fun there. But yeah, I should be a little bit more engaged. It's just the distance is a little bit tough sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the one thing I always say, like for me, like I got real involved in my alumni club I went to University of Delaware down here in South Florida, and in my case, just being that far away from the school, actually for me, it was a little more special. And probably for you as well, being that far away is like when you meet somebody that went to your school, there's a little just there's that automatic wow, like we went to the same school, maybe grew up in the same area, whatever it might be. How about as far as from a NFL perspective and alumni engagement there? I mean, we touched briefly on NFL Players Association, NFL alumni. Is there besides like just the basic golf tournaments? Is there a camaraderie there where alumni are working together and coming back?
There's always events and things like that, and usually it's specific athletes that are doing something for their foundation or whatever. Brian Moorman is a great example. He does a lot of charity golf tournaments and stuff, and raising money for cancer kids and things like that. But yeah, a lot of guys do that, and of course that's why another reason why we can stay engaged. We have our Legends community, which is kind of the guys, the former Jaguars in Jacksonville they're still there, that live, in Jacksonville. And we are able to kind of get out in the community and do some things, Thanksgiving drive coming up. I think I'm going to be volunteering to hand out some food next week, I believe. But yeah, it's just things like that definitely you're staying engaged, especially if you still live in the city you played in. There's a lot of opportunities for participation in a lot of stuff that the NFL alumni chapters hold, and then also the former players, the NFLPA. They do events. So I was just at one at Top Golf not too long ago. So a lot of opportunities like that to be engaged, to things like that. But it's it's fun and again, it reminds me when we go to these little chapter meetings, seeing all the guys, it kind of reminds me of the locker room. And that's one thing
Yeah.
people say, what do you miss most about football? And they're always expecting, like, oh, well, game day was so fun. I'm like, man, I'm a kicker. It was Game days were very stressful. But the answer I would give those people is I miss the camaraderie. I miss the
Yeah.
locker room. I miss the guys. I miss the accountability. I miss all of that. And then when you have those chapter meetings or those golf tournaments and golf events and any sort of charity event, when you have a bunch of guys, former athletes come by and former NFL players come through, it kind of brings back memories, and you're always talking about old times and having a good time. So it's very, very good for that camaraderie and that social life, of course.
Do you ever see it's interesting? I've had this conversation with a couple people lately, like a kind of like cross networking amongst alumni from different sports. So, like all of a sudden you've got like NFL players and Major League Baseball players, minor league baseball players, hockey players, whatever. I mean, do you see any of that, or do you think it's pretty much set on your sport?
I don't see a lot of that. The only example I can give you that I experienced that was actually I was part of the Garth Brooks Foundation, and he would have a annual appreciation party in Vegas every year, and he brought that time of the year it was former NFL players, former hockey players, NHL guys, and I think there were some baseball guys there as well. So there's many sports there. But as far as getting any sort of we do have opportunities to get in front of like right now, myself and Aaron Beasley is kind of heading this up, but Aaron Beasley played for the Jaguars for many years, and he's moved back to Jacksonville, and he wants to start this this big it's like it's like a mini IMG academy, except we're going to have different opportunities for kids to get off the street, come in and do some activities that will keep them from getting in trouble, that kind of thing. But just we're going to have other other athletes from other sports kind of be involved with this as well. So I think that would be kind of something if it comes to fruition and we're able to do it. I think it would be great opportunity for kids to kind of learn a lot from all of us former athletes and just kind of help them succeed in life in the future.
Yeah, I think, we talked a little before, but I mean, I think that athlete skill set, the DNA, it's the same. I mean, regardless of the sport you play and how long you play it. And I think it's just, bringing that group together in that community, just another avenue for athletes to, as they want to help each other. Like I do a monthly networking event, and it's always, I've had like NFL players, I've had water skiers, I've had Olympic swimmers, wrestlers, soccer, baseball, the whole gamut. But when everybody gets on that call together, you just see the wheels turning. It's all about how can we help each other with our businesses? So you have that commonality of sports, which I think is definitely important. Let's go on to your transition out of sport. You alluded to before being a little bit challenging. Talk about that, and then maybe give a couple of words of advice to athletes as they get ready to wind down.
Well, the transition for me was challenging, but again, it was just some kind of like a learn as you go type of thing. But like as I told you earlier, I should have prepared a little bit more. But I've learned more as I've kind of grown and kind of understood, what's working, what's not, and just what's really happening in the real world. And it's everyone kind of goes out and does their own thing. So it's kind of one of those things, a personal thing for a lot of people. We had that commonality with football when we were in the locker room together and playing the game together. But when you get out of that, everyone kind of splits off into their passions. Tony Bracken's the guy that I played ball with, big defensive lineman, stud athlete, black guy, and he's actually a rancher in Texas. And I didn't realize he was, apparently he was that way before he came to play football. And when he retired, he went back and got his own ranch and is doing really well. He's ranching cattle and doing all kinds of stuff. And I just, it's those things you don't really picture, but, everyone's got their own passion. I love it. And it's just a matter of, finding that passion and moving forward and challenging yourself. I think athletes have that kind of that built-in mindset where you always want to be challenged. Because that's what makes us better. If you're not challenged, and you're not going to really proceed in getting better at what it is. We're always trying to master a craft, especially with kickers, man. I'm a perfectionist. I've always been that way. And so I'm trying to kind of transition that into, what I'm doing in real life. Not to an extent where it's a negative thing, being a perfectionist. I think it can be a negative thing if you take it too far. But again, it's just a matter of just enjoying life and what you're doing. And again, I always go back to that word passion. It's very difficult to enjoy what you're doing in life, whether it's your job or whatever, if you don't have a passion for it. If there's no passion there, it's just like just another day at the office. There's nothing to keep you going. So dig deep, find that passion, and go for it. There's no other explanation, no other answer other than just drive, go for it, and you're always there's a lot of times when you're not really aware of what your full potential really can be. I watch a lot of videos from personal growth and videos and inspirational stuff, and there's a lot of that those kind of messages that are portrayed. So we as humans are so out of touch with what we are really capable of doing. We put limits on ourselves. And again, going back to the former athlete part of me, or the athlete part of me, is the fact that I never put a limit on myself. I didn't, I'm not comparing myself to others. I'm comparing myself to me. I got to be as good as I possibly can be. And I think that when people understand that mindset, I think the sky's the limit with regards to your abilities and things that you never thought you could do, you really can do. It's just a matter of that passion and that drive and how much work you want to put into it. And that's sometimes hard for people to put work into it. But again, if the passion's there, the work is fun. And that's why I say, find a passion for something, dig deep and find a passion and enjoy it because it is fun. It is not necessarily work. You don't treat it as work if it's fun. So I think that's a great goal to have in life is to, enjoy what you're doing for a living. And there's a lot of people out there that do not enjoy what they're doing. Yeah. And I don't want to be one of them. I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy, very optimistic, and I just want to have fun and enjoy life.
That's great. I love that attitude. That's awesome. So let's talk about what you're doing today. So you've got a Proform Kicking. Talk a little bit about that and how people can find you with that.
Yeah, proformkicking.com is the website. I've had that company for 18 years now, almost 18 years. And it's again that passion. Going back to the passion, I have a passion for teaching kids the stuff that I was taught. And it really kind of just passing the torch down really is, I'm teaching things that Coach Catano taught me. And again, that satisfaction with regards to seeing success in your kickers. And, I teach a different form and technique than most, and it's sometimes it can be a little challenging to learn, but I still demonstrate for the kids because there's a lot of things that I would say to the athlete and they would be like, give me this look like there's no way that's going to happen. And I have to kind of show them for them to believe that it really would happen. And so that's why I still kind of, stay in shape and still kick when I need to. But again, my form is so smooth and easy to do. Now, I'm doing after 100 years of doing it, it's pretty easy to do it. But that's the thing with the form of the technique is that it doesn't require a lot of effort and energy. And you still kick a ball pretty far. So when I'm coaching, I'm Jacksonville Beach, Florida, and I'm in flip flops and shorts all the time in the summertime, of course. And when I'm coaching, I'm in bare feet basically. So I'm basically demonstrating bare feet. I'll kick them,
Wow.
Demonstrate barefoot, no problem. But I don't have to stretch and get all warm and loose before I kick a ball. But it's because the form does it for me. It's not a really, right. It's not a really aggressive form at all. And so that's really, it's fun. It's fun to see the athletes get that aha moment, like they finally understand it and get it. Because they get so much better after that because they now believe it and they trust it. And so that's good. It's fun to have that ability to share what I know and my knowledge to the athletes out there that are willing to accept it and learn it and want to work hard on it.
Now, is it all in person or you work online as well? Or
I do both actually. In person in Jacksonville Beach, and then we do virtual stuff as well. I've got guys in South Africa. I've got guys in Canada and Mexico and Croatia. I worked with a guy in Croatia one time. So yeah, all over the world and all over the United States. I got guys that are in different parts of the country, of course, that can't always travel to Jacksonville, so they do the virtual instead. And it's very detailed. So that's one thing that you think, well, virtual coaching, because it's not live virtual coaching. It's basically they film themselves and then they send me the video, and then we go over a Zoom, basically over the video. But I'm able to show them, on film what they're doing right and wrong, and so it's up to them to kind of go out and correct it. But it does is very, very beneficial. I've had a guy in Canada, not Canada. Well, Canada, yeah, because Henry Nell, actually, he came from South Africa, but worked a lot with him virtually and in person. Of course, he came to Jacksonville for a while, but young kid, he made the professional football here in the United States at the age of 19, and he's never played football at all, ever. He's just a rugby guy, right? And so, and he's, hopefully we'll see him in the NFL soon. He got into the CFL for a little while and worked out with them, and I was there for a couple of years, but trying to get him in the NFL and see what he can do there. But I enjoy it. I mean, it's a small niche, of the marketplace as far as not many kickers. There are a lot of kickers out there now,
Right.
but it still doesn't keep me incredibly busy.
Well, that's great. That's great. And so, any other ways they can find you, like on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, everything I have on my social media is Proform Kicking. I got
Okay.
Instagram Proform Kicking, Twitter's Proform Kicking, even LinkedIn is Proform Kicking, and Facebook obviously as well. Proform Kicking.
So I definitely encourage people to reach out to Mike. You can find us at alumnidirect.com, or this show, Athletes, Entrepreneurs, Alumni Journeys, on our YouTube channel, as well as across all the different podcast networks. And I encourage people to like, subscribe, view it. It's something I think is so important. I mean, Mike gave some great advice today, and just I go back to all the other podcasts, and every guest always has something great. I think it's athletes need to know that there's people out there that want to help. And we're trying to bring it all together in one place just to make an impact. So again, thanks, Mike. This has been great. And I look forward to our next show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.